For this exercise, put your mid back up against an elevated surface, and then you have a band around both knees. From here, you're gonna lift one knee up towards your chest as you thrust up towards the ceiling, and you're really gonna get a good activation of the glute on the underside here, so the right side for me. And you come back down, and then you thrust back up. Key here is to make sure the motion comes from the hips. I'm not moving too much at this whole thoracic spine in my neck. I'm really focusing on getting all this motion coming from the pelvis here. So I'm coming back down and then thrusting back up. And you should really be feeling a burn here. For this exercise, you want to keep your feet about hip width apart. And then from here, you're going to lift your hips up towards the ceiling while making sure the head and the chest don't move too much. So your head and chest stay stationary, and you're moving at the pelvis, lifting up towards the ceiling. You can see how I have a band just above my knees, and I'm spreading the band as I lift the hips up. So I'm relaxing and bringing the band together as I come down, and then as I thrust towards the ceiling, I'm spreading the band. I'm tensioning the band as much as I can. So that's gonna get the outer hip muscles, and then the hip thrust itself is gonna get more of the back hip muscles. So I'm getting a lot of the glutes with this exercise. For this variation of a hip thrust, I have my feet in the stagger stance position where one foot is in front of the other. Now in this position, I'm gonna lift my hips up towards the ceiling, squeezing the glutes. So the leg that's a little more closer towards me, so my right leg here, is actually gonna be doing a majority of the work, and then I'm gonna slowly lower myself back down. So I'm driving in with the heels and lifting my pelvis and hips up towards the ceiling, squeezing the glutes, making sure my head and neck don't move too much, focusing on extending at the hips, and then coming back down. For this exercise, I'm doing a single leg hip thrust where one knee is up as I thrust with the opposite leg, and I'm pulling myself up or pushing myself up into that right heel, and my hips are coming up towards the ceiling. And then I'm coming back down, and again, most of the motion's coming from here. I'm not moving my mid back and neck so much, so keep this stationary as I come up and focus on bringing the hip and pelvis towards the ceiling. And then I come back down. And you should really be feeling the burn here. Avoid using your low back muscles. Focus on extending at the hips. For this version, I'm gonna thrust up with both legs, lift one leg up, and then slowly descend on the leg that I wanna work eccentrically. So the eccentric part's the coming down motion. So I'm coming up, using both hips to pull myself up, making sure my head and neck don't move too much, lift one leg up, and then slowly control myself on the way back down. So I'm coming up, squeezing the glutes, one leg up, and then slowly controlling the descending part of that movement.